Hey everyone, and thanks for joining me for our next installment of the Magic Treehouse readings. Today we're going to start A Crazy Day with Cobras, and I'm going to read the summary on the back just so we can get an idea of what this book is about before I get reading chapter 1. So, Merlin's beloved penguin Penny is under a spell. Jack and Annie must find 4 things to save her. The first is a rare and precious emerald. When Jack and Annie are whisked back to India over 400 years ago, they discover an amazing and exotic world filled with danger. Can they find the emerald, avoid the wrath of the Great Mogul, escape an attack by King Cobras, and make it back to the Magic Treehouse alive? Woo, this seems like it's going to be a crazy adventure. So we'll go ahead and get started with chapter 1 called A Terrible Mistake, and here's our first illustration. "The weather's getting warmer," said Jack. He and Annie were walking home from school under a cloudless May sky. A warm breeze blew through the leaves on the newly green trees. "I love it," said Annie. "It makes me feel like something good's going to happen." "Something good already happened," said Jack. "My teacher finally gave me back my story today." "The one about our adventures in the treehouse?" asked Annie. "Yep, she said I have a fantastic imagination," said Jack. "Great," said Annie. "And she loved your drawings for the story, too," said Jack. "She said you're really talented." "That's nice," said Annie. "Maybe she loved the sparkle pens I used." "The only thing she didn't love was the type I chose," said Jack. "She said it was too hard to read because it was too fancy." "I really like that curly type," said Annie. "Me too," said Jack, "but it's no big deal. She still gave me an A+. "Wow," said Annie. As they reached the edge of the Frog Creek woods, a gust of wind shook the tree branches. Jack's baseball cap blew off. He grabbed his cap from the sidewalk. The wind blew harder. "What's happening?" said Annie. Suddenly, 2 figures rushed out of the woods. Their dark cloaks flapped behind them as they hurried toward Jack and Annie. "Teddy," said Annie. "Kathleen," said Jack. The red-haired teenage boy and the beautiful girl with dark, wavy hair ran to Jack and Annie and hugged them. "You must come with us to the treehouse," said Kathleen. "Hurry." "Why? What's up?" said Jack. "We'll explain when we get there," said Teddy. He and Kathleen turned and started back to the woods. As Jack and Annie raced after them, sunlight slanted through the leafy treetops. Soon they all came to the tallest oak tree. "Up, up!" cried Teddy. One by one, Teddy, Kathleen, Jack, and Annie scrambled up the rope ladder and climbed into the magic treehouse. When they were all inside, Teddy heaved a sigh. "My friends, we desperately need your help," he said. "What's wrong?" asked Annie. "We made a terrible mistake," said Kathleen. "No, it was me, just me," said Teddy. "I made the mistake." "What did you do?" said Jack. "I turned Penny into a stone statue," said Teddy. "Penny?" said Annie. "A statue?" "Oh, no," said Jack. He loved the little orphan penguin that he and Annie had found on one of their adventures. Penny had helped save Merlin's life. "It was an accident," said Kathleen. "It was stupidity," said Teddy. "We were in Morgan's library, and I was looking at spells in her books. Morgan forbids us to try any spells on our own, but I disobeyed when I found a simple one that turns things into stone. I thought I'd just give it a quick try. I turned an apple, a goblet of water, and a writing quill all to stone." "Teddy was pointing at a walking stick by the doorway, reciting the words of the spell," said Kathleen. "And just as he finished, Penny wandered in, and the spell hit her." "And now she's a stone statue," Teddy said miserably. "That's terrible," said Annie. "Well, can't you just ask Merlin or Morgan to use their magic to bring Penny back to life?" asked Jack. No, they must never learn anything about this. If they do, Teddy shook his head and looked away. "Merlin and Morgan are both in Avalon for the Festival of May," said Kathleen. "If they discover what Teddy has done, we fear Merlin will banish him from the kingdom." "Really?" said Annie. "Yes, Merlin will be enraged," said Kathleen. "Penny is the very heart of our kingdom. We all love her very much." "Me too," said Jack. He thought about the penguin's fuzzy head, the funny way she peeped, the way she loved and trusted everyone. "The good news is that we have found a rhyme that tells us how to reverse the stone spell," said Kathleen. She took a note from her cloak. "The bad news is that it's written in an ancient language," said Teddy. "We've only translated 8 lines so far." Kathleen read from the note. Ye say that ye wish your spell be reversed. For things ye must find, here is the first. In the shape of a rose is an emerald stone that uncovers the heart of one who's alone. An emerald stone shaped like a rose, said Jack. He took the note from Kathleen and looked at it. That's what you have to find first? Yes, only we must spend our time trying to translate the rest of the spell before Merlin and Morgan return, said Kathleen. So we need you and Annie to go look for the emerald rose. Got it, said Jack. Where do we look? Asked Annie. We've done some research, said Teddy, and we think you should go back almost 400 years and visit one of the great moguls of India. Great moguls, said Annie. They are the emperors who ruled India's Mughal Empire, said Teddy. One of them has the largest collection of precious gems in all the world. And his stone cutters cut many of his jewels into the shape of leaves and flowers, said Kathleen. Perfect, said Annie. Our research says he often gave gifts of his precious gems to visiting ambassadors, said Teddy. You will have to pretend to be ambassadors. And I am afraid, Annie, that you will have to pretend to be a boy again, said Kathleen. In Mughal India, girls were not allowed to show their faces in public. No problem, I'm getting used to it, Annie said. Wait, even if Annie's a boy, they're probably not going to believe that we're ambassadors, said Jack. Teddy and Kathleen gave each other blank looks. I do not know why not, said Teddy, though I admit we really don't know very much about ambassadors. They're people who visit other countries to represent their own country, said Jack. Splendid, said Teddy, so that's what you'll do. You'll represent Frog Creek 400 years ago. Except ambassadors are usually grown-ups, said Jack. Oh, well, I suppose you must just do the best you can, said Kathleen. Perhaps this will help you, said Teddy. If you have knowledge, you will seem older. He reached into his cloak and pulled out a book. And we thought perhaps some magic might help too, said Kathleen. If you find yourselves in danger, she reached into her cloak again and pulled out a tiny blue bottle. A potion to make you very small. Wow, great, said Annie. Very small, said Jack. He remembered how their friend Augusta had been made tiny by the fairies of Ireland. He remembered that he'd been afraid it might happen to them too. All kinds of ordinary things could seem huge and scary, he thought. How long would we stay small, he asked. It depends on how many sips you take, said Kathleen, giving the bottle to Jack. 1 sip will make you small for 10 minutes, 2 for 20, 3 for 30, and so on. Thanks, he said. He put the bottle and the rhyme into his backpack. Go now, said Teddy. Find the emerald rose while we try to translate the rest of the spell. We'll do our best, said Annie. Thank you, said Kathleen. When you need strength, just think of Penny. We will, said Jack. He took a deep breath and pointed at the cover of their research book. I wish we could go there. Annie waved at Teddy and Kathleen. See you later, she said. The wind started to blow. The treehouse started to spin. It spun faster and faster. Then everything was still. Absolutely still. Wow. Jack and Annie have just set off on a wild adventure to India 400 years ago to try to find this emerald carved in the shape of a rose. Well, you'll have to join me tomorrow for chapter 2, which is called The Red Fort. Thanks. I'll see you next time. Bye.